Hello, and welcome to another episode of Truth About Real Estate Investing.
All right, thank you. Hey everyone. Oh, that's Bruce, by the way. As the year winds down, it's been a challenging one for many, especially those who over-leveraged, those who gambled on the market going up forever, or good market going, or folks who grew too fast, too soon, spread too thin, poor systems, poor oversight. List goes on and on. We see it everywhere too, in other different industries. For example, SBK, Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX has been arrested in the Bahamas. The South Korean gentleman responsible for Lunacoin is hiding out in Serbia. Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos has just been sentenced to jail. Very interesting documentary on Netflix if you haven't checked it out. So do please be careful out there. Back when I was taking courses in commercial banking, banks don't get rich by making bad loans, nor do they lend, nor do they underlend. So, for example, if a business needs, say, for example, $1 million to survive, the bank doesn't just lend, say, $500,000 to reduce their risk, because the risk is that business fails and that $500,000 loan is lost. They lend either the whole amount or nothing at all, or they make that loan contingent on someone else loaning up the rest of the money, because no one wins in making bad loans. Anyways, in these challenging times, I'm seeing even more coaching programs, more coaches offering programs, more beginner coaches entering coaching, and I'm seeing more capital raising offerings, and I'm hearing lots of rumors of failing portfolios. I don't know anything's confirmed. Again, these are rumors, but like the saying goes, when there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm being cautious as always. There's lots of red flags out there. So as always, do your own due diligence, and maybe have an expert set of eyes help you with that due diligence, and just be careful out there. I do feel these times are the time to be greedy and to be picky. For Cherry and I, that means we'll be buying another investment property in the near future. I'm not sure whether that's going to be. I've been having friends tell me I need to get in more, so I don't know what we're going to be buying, but we plan on taking advantage of this dip and buying soon. In my extensive experience, the best investment is one that's well researched, supported by the best power team in the business, based on economic fundamentals, that one controls. Control is huge. As for Cherry and I, we trust ourselves over anyone else with our money and our investment. I do. On to another subject. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who supported Cherry and I, sharing our YouTubes, our podcasts with those that they care with, to those who they care about, to our staff who worked so hard this year so that our clients and attendees of our conferences are taken care of. Thank you to our clients who put their trust in us and guiding them towards their financial journeys towards financial peace, and especially for sending us referrals. We love referrals. And the common question I get about Cherry, is she able to take on more clients? Yes. Cherry's company is taking on more clients. They just hired a new accounting manager in order to handle more volume. It is thanks to all of you who I just mentioned, are my 17 listeners, Cherry's YouTube watchers, my YouTube watchers. I almost have 2,000 subscribers. I guess it's nothing to sneeze at. I have more YouTube subscribers than I have podcast listeners. Anyways, it's thanks to all of you, and especially our clients. End of the day, it's our clients that pay our bills and help us fund our charity. Cherry and I have a registered charity. We call it the Hamilton Bash Brigade. The charity was able to donate $10,000 worth of winter wear to school kids in Hamilton, Ontario. As is our way for Cherry and I, we love value. We're very frugal individuals, and we love efficiency. Hence, we purchased directly from a manufacturer or wholesaler. We received a 20% discount since we're a charity. The winter coats, for example, we bought. These are adult-sized winter coats. We were paying about $45 each, and winter boots. Also, they're adult-sized because we're donating to high schoolers, so these kids are not small. And winter boots, for example, were around $40 for a brand new pair of boots with tags, and these are quality items. In total, we provided 4 schools, 142 winter jackets, 20 pairs of winter boots, 160 hats, 50 pairs of gloves, as the need is great. My friend Nancy, who's a school administrator in Hamilton at one of the high schools, shared with me that they receive a couple refugee families per week from Ukraine, Syria, and that place where we just fought a war, Afghanistan. Some kids do not even have fixed addresses, as they do not even live with their parents. It's incredibly sad out there, and I encourage everyone to give however they can. We're done for the season, so feel free to give to your local school, church, your local charity, donate your time, whatever it is. There's a lot of need out there. And all you investors out there who haven't started investing, the need to invest has never been greater. If anyone didn't notice, healthcare is on the decline. Senior care as well is on the decline. Rents have skyrocketed, and the demand-supply mismatch for real estate has never been worse. We all have a problem to solve to ensure our family's financial and health well-being, is to be taken care of. My team and I are here at iWin Real Estate are here to help. If you have not already gotten onto my email list and receiving the invites to our webinars, meetups, property tours, and mastermind lunches, well, that's just silly. On my website, there's my free book, the Canadian Real Estate Investment Playbook. You can sign up for the book for free. You can sign up for my newsletter, along with 10,000 plus other hardworking Canadians learning the latest truths about real estate investing. Simply add your name and email address on the right side, www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. Again, that's www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. In 2023, my plan is to double our amount of educational content we produce, as we love to help. To be honest, I think it's a public service that needs to be done, as we need to crowd out the less qualified who are putting out content. We will start hosting meetups as well. We are expanding as well. We're going to begin hosting meetups and tours east of the GTA. For example, Oshawa to Kingston, as we've expanded thanks to the addition of Coach Stephen Phillips of HGTV fame, who joined our team in 2022. 2023 is going to be an amazing year for many. And when people look back 5-10 years from now, they will definitely know, hindsight being 2020, that 2023 was an amazing year. It'll also be a terrible year for many, as interest rates are going to be elevated for a while, and for those who invested wrong. My forecast is for our clients to kill it, as they always have since 2010, thanks to our repeatable systems and our best-in-class power teams. And that is the truth about real estate investing. Hopefully you will join us, or someone that you care about. Again, that's www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. This week, we have a lovely story about a young millennial who started his journey in his passion, which was health and fitness. If you've ever met or seen Vince Lee in person, you know he's jacked. He looks like a personal fitness trainer. Unfortunately, for personal trainers living in Toronto, it's hard to get by. Thanks to his supportive partner, shout out to Chewy, and the Trust Your Talent community, shout out to Tim Sai, Vince has been able to create a side hustle in real estate investing. Specifically, he started in rent-to-owns. He's since scaled to larger and more projects, branching out in strategy as well. I think we mentioned some about short-term rentals and even some apartment building investing. He's also moved the family from the expensive Toronto area to the more affordable Edmonton, Alberta, which is, to me, it's unfortunate that we lose someone as talented as Vince from our area to somewhere else for affordability reasons. But Vince's story is a good one, and it reminds me of why I invest so hard, so I can afford to keep my kids living close to me, which means living in Ontario/GTA. Congrats to Vince's success. Please enjoy the show. Vince, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Way too overworked, but what's keeping you busy these days?
More so on my real estate investing business. Trust Your Talent is an organization that I'm a part of, and I just had a newborn on August 23rd, and so the biggest bulk of my life right now is being a father. So that's where most of my time is going, and then it goes into my business, and then into Trust Your Talent Academy.
Oh my, busy. Congratulations on being a father.
Thank you. It's different.
Boy or girl?
It's a girl. Her name's Mirai.
What's the background on that?
It's a Japanese name. I'm Chinese, but it's a Japanese name. It means I thought it fit really well because it means the future. And so I see her as the future because, as you know, we're on this path towards financial freedom, and wasn't taught this in school. I wasn't taught this through my family or friends, and
Uh-huh.
really had to learn it the hard way. And so I said the future because it's a unique name, by the way, and also I see her as an opportunity where she's the new generation in my family, where living life a lot different. And I don't even know if she's going to end up going to university of anything, but she may. I'll let her make her own decisions and choices, but it's really teaching her that she can really do her own thing if she wanted to, and whatever she wants to do.
Fantastic.
So,
And
yeah.
before we were recording, you mentioned you're from Cape Breton. You don't look like someone from Cape Breton.
I am definitely a half newfie, and if I drink enough, the accent does come out.
You're kidding me, really?
Yeah, it does. It does. So we'll have a drink sometime.
We have to
when
make this
next time I'm in
happen.
town.
Are you in town? Have you been in town ever? When was the last time you were in town?
Well, I moved to Edmonton 6 months ago. So the last
Uh-huh.
time I was in town was back in September for a conference there. But I'm here and there. I mean, I can travel when I can and when I want to. At the moment, not so much, just because of the fatherly duties. I'm kind of strapped at home, and my boss
Right,
and my second boss now is not giving me any vacation time, so
right, right,
be at
right.
home most of the time. But yeah, I'm from Cape Breton Island. I grew up in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. That's where I was where I was raised. I was like a small time boy and small town boy, and I grew up probably being the Asian guy or the Asian family in town. So I did have a little bit of racism there too, but it wasn't really. I didn't think of it as racism, more so than ignorance, and it never really hindered me because I just thought it was just how people's opinions or thoughts, and I just kind of fit in with that and went on with my merry way. And but I made the move, and I was really excited to make the move out into Ontario because there wasn't many opportunities growing up as a kid,
Uh-huh.
and I guess more small-minded, if anything. And no offense to my own people there, but people don't really think outside of the box. And so when I moved to Ontario was when I kind of started seeing more opportunities or different types of people and different views, and that really opened up my mind to really seeing more potential on things I could be doing out in Ontario. The opportunities were
So,
different.
what was like the career path your parents had for you back in Cape Breton?
Typical Asian, Aaron. What do you think? Lawyer, doctor, somewhere in the healthcare, some kind of professional field that has a bit of title under the name.
Right, right. In
But I was
Halifax or like in Toronto or New York? Like, what were they thinking?
Toronto,
Oh,
Toronto.
so their planned path for you was to go to Toronto then. Okay.
Yeah, and ideally it was going into like a bigger school like Toronto University.
Uh-huh.
Um, I like to say I'm one of those failed Asians. I was never good at school. I was actually really bad. I was not like an A+ student. I think if anything, C+ to a B student. Um, Horrible at math as well. So was not my strong suit. I'm not good at math, and even to this day, I'm not good at math. However, it was the fact that my trajectory was to do well in life, and that was what I wanted to do, was to do well, and that was what was ingrained in me. Now, I went to Toronto. I went to school at York University instead, and I graduated from kinesiology. I actually did 7 years of education. Prior to university was college, and I did health and fitness from there. So I wanted to stay somewhere in the health industry, at least. That was at least a sense of success, if anything, in the health industry. I was not really a doctor, but I was a kinesiologist, and I was working towards becoming a physiotherapist. But that was kind of where my roadblock started, and I wasn't really making a head in life. I was making probably, I don't know, 30 to $40,000 a year
Right, in
living downtown
Toronto.
in Toronto. And what kind of bothered me too was the fact that my partner, she worked at the bank, and she didn't really go to school for that. She just kind of got hooked up from one of her associates, and one thing led to another. She just moved up the chain, and climbed the corporate ladder. And she's like, making from 60, then 70,000 to 80,000. Whereas I was stuck at 30,000 and then up to $40,000. And I'm like, I studied 7 years for this and I'm working my butt off. And this is my passion. This is my dream job. This is what I wanted to do. And I'm only making $40,000 a year. Whereas my partner here didn't go to school for this. She just kind of got the job. And then she's just climbing the corporate ladder and she's making all this extra money. And I'm thinking, how? Like, that's not fair. Life's not fair. And so she worked a lot of hours and I worked a lot of hours trying to make ends meet. And we were together and, it got to a point where, you're not getting fulfilled. You're working and it's the same thing every day. You're really busting your butt off and you're not really getting ahead in life. You're not making the money that you want. You're literally just scraping by paycheck to paycheck. And I remember like living in my little apartment in Toronto and there used to be like cockroaches and like random bugs that I would see. And it kind of was disgusting, but we lived there and we couldn't afford to live anywhere else. And so we just had to make ends meet. And I didn't know there was another option. I didn't know there was another way of doing things. I just thought you had to go to school, get good grades, graduate, and then you would find a good job and job ideally with benefits. And then you would work till you're 65, 70 and you retire from there. And that was the path that I was on, like most people. But it doesn't work.
So what changed? What got you down the real estate path?
So what changed was when, so as I was saying, I was working there. I think I was working for about 4 years. So I worked for 4 years at the time, and first year was pretty good. Second year, I started wondering, okay, how much more longer do I have to continue doing this? Third year, I was like, okay, it's the same thing as the first year and second year, and I wasn't getting paid much more. And then into the fourth year, that was about the time I kind of hit my, I would call it, you heard of midlife crisis.
Quarter life crisis, sure.
Mine was the quarter life crisis. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was even possible. So I hit my quarter life crisis at about 26. My personal life was falling apart, and I made my job as an excuse of why I didn't see my friends or families for so long, because I was working to be successful, really. And so I haven't seen my friends and family for about 4 years. I just really focused, put my head down and worked hard because that's what you were told to do. And to the point where I worked myself to not being able to even see my own partner, who I see only at nighttime. I see her at nighttime. We watch a little bit of TV, go to sleep, and then we wake up and do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
And so on the fourth year of that, our relationship was really getting a hit. And she was probably the only person I was close to at that time in life, because I haven't seen anybody else for the longest time. And she was my only support, my only communication with a real person. And what happened was me and her were going through a rough patch. And she's like, this isn't working. We thought we were going to break up. And, I was thinking like, maybe I should start seeing other people. And I kind of started seeing somebody, and it was just to fill the void, really. And then we realized like, okay, it's like, we're about to break up at this point. And I had a moment when I was going to work. This was when it was like, I think it was sometime in June, back in like 2017, 2018. I was heading to work, and it was a sunny like morning, 6 a.m. I'm going to meet one of my clients, one-on-one training. And to give you a little context of my client, he basically broke his back, and he was working as a contractor, and he fell off 2 stories. So he almost broke his back and he was almost paralyzed. So his job was literally trying to kill him. And so I was training this guy. He's probably one of the most negative people you'll meet. And me and him were good. And I quite understood what he was going through, because this guy, his entire life is kind of upside down at the moment. He would use me as a punching bag. He would, just say like, Vince, like, life's not fair. You should treat me better, like things like that. And he jokes around a lot. He always does that. one day I was coming into work to meet him. This is the time I was going in the morning to meet him. And I get up to the clinic after riding the TTC, which, you know, TTC is probably one of the most depressing places. It's the public transit of Toronto,
Especially
most
in the winter.
depressing place ever,
Yeah.
especially during the winter. I was going to work and, you know, I had the music blasting in my ear and I was just trying to drown out my depression because that was what I was facing. I was going through a depression in my life. I was feeling so hopeless. I was lost. I was confused. My life was in a shamble. I didn't know who to talk to. I just kept everything to myself. And most Asian guys do that as well because you want to keep face. You know, you don't want people to show a sign of weakness. And that's what I was doing. And I got to the clinic. I started walking up the stairs, and the moment I met eyes with my client, he started like throwing some jabs at me. He's like, "Vince, why are you late? It's 6 o'clock. Like, you should be on time. Like,
6
what do I
a.m.?
pay you?" Yeah, 6 a.m. What should I pay you for? And the clinic's open right at this time. The clinic's open. It's alive, and there are, you know, patients coming in and out, or clients coming in and out. There's massage therapy, chiropractors, physio treatments happening. This is all the morning crowd. My boss is there. My manager and supervisors there. Everything's operational at that time, and I'm going into clinic, trying to put on my happy mask with a big giant crack in the middle of it. And the moment he started using me as a punching bag, I was just like, no, not today. And I started throwing back jabs at him. And literally, like, as a professional, I was throwing down with this guy in the middle of the clinic. And to the point I was like, go find a new trainer. Like, literally dropped the F-bomb on him. Like, just completely broke apart in the middle of clinic. And I was like, holy crap, I'm actually doing it. Like, I'm actually saying it. It feels so nice to say it, but I'm like, shit, I gotta hold myself back because I'm gonna lose my job or something's gonna happen. But it just kept on coming out. It just kept on spewing. And right at that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is my entire career that I just lit up into flames. And I'm like, okay, I gotta really, really get my stuff together because I'm probably gonna get fired very soon. And there's like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna live on the streets? Is my partner gonna be the one that's supporting me the whole time? Like, how am I gonna find a new job? Like, all these thoughts started coming into my head. But I knew I didn't want to work anymore. Because if I just found a new job, it's gonna be the exact same thing. It's just me working at a place that I'm not gonna find fulfilling. And I was thinking, like, even if I was getting paid $50 an hour, I'm not going to be making enough to survive and live a comfortable life in Toronto. Mm-hmm. So I actually went to the back of the room at that moment, and I was just sitting on the computer in the office in the back, and I was just pondering my life, like, okay, what did I just do? Like, what just happened? I'm recollecting all my thoughts and pulling my composure together. And I'm on the computer searching up 26-year-old don't want to work, what to do. And that was the first time I was introduced to passive income. That was the first time I was introduced to the word FIRE, which stood for financial independence, retire early. And then passive income, financial freedom came about. And then I started thinking, okay, so there are these people who are on this path to financial independence. And I'm only learning about this now. I've never been taught this, never thought that this is even a possibility. However, people are finding ways to do it, whether it's through real estate investing, whether it's through stock trading, or through investing through, I don't know, any kind of vehicle that you can think of, but people are making it work. And so that was the turning point in my life that really sparked that light bulb moment of, okay, there are people figuring out how to hit financial independence and financial freedom. And so the question to me was, how do I do this? I don't have any money. I don't have any qualifications as an agent or as a mortgage broker. So how do I do this? How do I start? Where do I start? And so I started looking for solutions, started looking for answers, and started reaching out to people and seeing how they do it. Start watching podcasts like this that gives people some kind of spark and hope that there is a possibility. There's different options that you can do. It's not just one track minded. There are ways to do it. And so that day I went home, and it was very humiliating, by the way. It was very shameful, like, what happened. I felt so embarrassed of everything that just, like, I can't even believe that I did it. But I went home with my tail tucked in between my legs, and I just said, you know, this is what happened at work today. I like lost my mind. And I just want to tell you that our relationship's not doing well. I'm not happy. I'm very depressed. I don't even know what I want to do anymore. However, there's something that I want to do, which is I want to go on this path called financial freedom. And that was when I started talking to my partner, Chewy, about financial independence, financial freedom. And there's a way to be able to do it, but we got to really put our foot into it and make it a commitment in our life if we want to do better in ourselves. And I knew at that time, my time was very strapped because I knew I was going to get fired. And I was like, we got to do this like as soon as possible. I got to fire my boss before she fires me. And so then as we started looking for solutions, that was kind of when I ended up going to this workshop, a 3-day workshop, and went there and quite skeptical. I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting into. I didn't know anybody that was at that workshop, and I wasn't sure if they were just trying to scam me or steal my money. However, I knew that if I didn't do something, my life would be exactly where it is. But if I'm willing to do this, it's not pretty, but at least it's better than what I'm doing now. And so I took the leap of faith and I jumped into professional training. I got myself a mentor, and that's actually where I met Tim and Ray, who's my mentor, and they really showed me the light on what could be possible. Right. And
this was Rich Dad that you were at?
Yeah, Rich Dad.
It was called that at the time, right?
Legacy. It was called Legacy at the time.
Oh, so not even okay. So not even
it wasn't even Legacy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't even want to say it was Legacy that helped me get to where I was. It was the people that I associated with. That was the people that helped me get to where I am today. My coach and my mentor, who had taught me everything that I need to know to be able to think a little differently and think outside the box. And so that was when, like, what was it? Getting started, I think, within 4 months when I first got my first real estate investment deal, like within 4 months after getting education. Mind you, not having my own money starting, it was the fact that I knew what I was doing. And then people that I took the same education with, they knew exactly what I knew. So they knew how to structure the same deal.
All right.
And I was like, well, I don't have any money. You have the money, but we have the same deal here.
Yeah.
Let's do a joint venture. Let's do a 50-50 split and let's make this happen. That first deal, right in the same week, then I had a second deal tied up right after. And I'm like,
wait. Did you put any money in?
No, that's the thing.
Wait. So you have 50% of the deal for doing what?
For bringing a deal together, putting my knowledge and education together.
Okay.
Right. Like that was the only value I brought to the table, because I physically did not have money going into the deal. So what I brought to the table was the deal and my knowledge and what I've been taught.
Right. And sorry, then who was your partner?
Another investor that was in the class with me.
Okay. They didn't want to do the work? Is that it?
Well, they didn't have their first deal yet. They didn't have their first deal.
Okay.
Right.
This is amazing.
They didn't have their first deal. Right. And I was taught also at the very beginning by my coach and mentor, and they're like, you never use your own money for your own deal. If you have a deal, share the wealth. You have your own money, put your money with somebody else's deal, because someone else is going to put their money with your deal. So you always have deals going back and forth. And I'm like, that makes sense. Well, regardless, I don't have money to put into other people's deal. I need other people's money to put in my deal. That's the only way I'm going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought in the deal, and actually
tell me about this first deal. Tell me about this first deal.
Yeah. So this first deal, the thing is, it was a cookie cut for the second deal. It was a cookie cut for the third deal. But the first
I know to you it's cookie cutter, but not everyone has training.
Yeah.
So please tell me about it. What was it?
Yeah, that first deal, I think we were making $1,000 cash flow, and that was after a 50-50 split. It was a lease option deal. So that was my first strategy that I've learned ever in real estate investing. It was a lease option deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that lease option deal basically gave me the confidence, and I'm like, oh, I can really do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually really possible.
So sorry, apologies for the listener who doesn't know what a lease option deal is. Please explain it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. So lease option, or the street term, is called rent to own. So it's a program to help individuals who are looking to get into home ownership that can't qualify for a mortgage for whatever reason. It could be for, like, let's say, lack of down payment. Maybe they haven't saved up enough money. Maybe they have some credit issue, and the credit isn't at the best outstanding position to qualify for mortgage. Sometimes they're just new to the country and they don't have established credit, or they have the money and the credit, but they haven't lived in the country long enough, or they don't have employment history. So there could be multiple factors that may be holding them back from being able to qualify for a home. And so somebody like myself will come along and be able to structure a rent-to-own deal where I come in with basically the tenant who's looking to buy a home and the deal that I put together, which is the rent-to-own or lease option deal. And then I find an investor who's willing to put the money down and qualify for the mortgage. And so when I tie all those things together, we have a program to help that family assist them into home ownership in the next 2, 3, or even 4 years. And the goal is to ensure their success in home ownership, which I think, given our current time right now, today's economy, I think rent to own is really taking a light on, because that people are starting to recognize, oh, there's this program. Actually, sorry, there's this new program called rent to own. And I'm like, no, it's not new. It's been around for a very long time, but people are starting to recognize there is options for them to get them into home ownership. And I often like to say as well is turning renters into homeowners and homeowners into investors, because you started already establishing that relationship with them as well. So, but hopefully that answers the question of rent.
Oh, no, I have more questions. I like details. So what was the first property? What was the property?
This was in Ingersoll. So we were working with a family, and they were basically.
Wait, hang on. You like yada 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 a whole bunch. I went to education and I put the deal together. You didn't mention that you like went to Ingersoll.
Yeah. So, well, the numbers made sense in Ingersoll, and that was the family that was looking for a home, and so they were from Ingersoll. And so for me, it didn't really matter where the location was as long as the numbers made sense and the deal made sense. That was why I ended up doing it there. Even though I lived in Toronto, I was still renting, but I ended up helping a family get into home ownership prior to even me being a homeowner myself.
Okay, good. I've heard of Ingersoll at least. So
it's a little bit outside.
Just off 401 between Woodstock and London.
Yeah.
So what was it? 3-bedroom house? What was it?
Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom house. This was a family, and he was a regional manager for a furniture store. A family of 4. So mom, wife and husband, and then 2 daughters, and they had a dog. And the reason they couldn't get into a home was simply because, mind you, regional manager here, right? He makes really good money. Wife's also making good money, but they couldn't get into a home. And the only reason why they couldn't
down
get
payment
into
or
home,
credit? Sorry, I interrupted.
It wasn't down payment or credit. Actually, they did have a little bit more down payment, but it was the fact that they bought 4 Cadillac cars, one for each family member. So the wife had a Cadillac, the husband had a Cadillac, and the daughters both had a Cadillac. So that's why they couldn't afford to get into a home. So part of the program was to help them pay down their cars and then to buy them the time so that they can get into their own home. And so that's why we structured the rent-to-own deal with them.
That's a first. 4 Cadillacs in one family. I've
and
never
so
heard that one before.
it was a great experience. And as an investor, my investor who's working with us, we made really good returns on it. So couldn't complain on that deal.
Right. And just for the listeners' benefit, putting together a deal is not easy. You have to go find the tenant.
Yeah.
Then you got to find the house, and the house is over an hour drive from you.
Yeah.
It's not like this was easy.
Funny enough, I did drive to that property, and I did drive to see the family as well when I first started. But you'll soon realize that you really don't need to see the house. You really don't even need to see the family in person. You could relatively do everything over Zoom.
These days. You're talking about
these
20
days.
I don't know if Zoom existed back in 2018.
It did. I just didn't know that I could do it over virtual. I just wasn't comfortable yet because it was my first deal, and I'm like, well, I'm this nobody over the phone, and I looked like a baby. I didn't have a beard at the time or anything, and so I literally looked like a baby. And I was like, hey, who's this guy that's going to trust me? And he's a regional manager of a furniture store, and he's looking at me like, okay, can I even do this for him? But
yeah, exactly.
You
have money?
I was really just doubting myself and my ability because I wasn't sure if I could do it. It was my first deal. I wasn't sure if this is even legit and like how possible it was, and I was doubting my own confidence. But that was the thing. Once I tied everything together, I was like, oh, this really works. Like it actually really works. And so that's what I mean by cookie cutting, because once I did that one time, I just repeated the same thing for the second time, and I repeated it for the third time and ongoing forward. And each time that I did it, I got better at it. It got a little bit faster, got a little bit more systems in place, and that's why I said I do it over Zoom now, because I don't even have to see the property. Me seeing the value, the property doesn't bring any value to the table, because if I go there, I don't know what I'm looking for in terms of the foundation, or if there's any problems with the drywall. Like my goal is, let's get an inspector who's a professional at that and leverage his abilities, and he can just draft me up a report, and I'll look at the report to see if it makes sense.
All right.
I'll ask a realtor to help me find the home, because what am I going to do? Go on MLS and look for a home for them? Like, no, let's get the realtor to help me look for a home. And that way I can structure everything together with the inspector. And if the house makes sense, let's buy the home for the family. And as long as the family likes the home themselves, then we're good to go.
Are these regular realtors and home inspectors that you're using?
Well, a lot of them we've built relationships over time, and with realtors, it took some time to find one that actually made sense and that knows what they're doing. The first realtor that we worked on, not so well, but you know, we just have to remind them that we're the buyers, not the tenants. Though the tenants are going with you to look for the home, we are the one that are going to buy the home. So as long as the realtor is really on point and they know what the relationship is like, I think that's why it's important to know that where they stand and where we stand in that aspect. So yeah, I wouldn't say the regular realtors. I look for realtors that are a little bit more investor friendly, and they know that they may have to think a little bit outside of the box as well. And as long as they can think outside of the box and they're open for that, those are the people I want to work with. Fabulous. So it depends.
And then, okay, so tell me about the single property. Do you remember how much it was?
I think it was around the 400 range, if I remember correctly.
It was pretty nice then, huh?
It wasn't that expensive. And we sold it to them at a higher value, obviously, for the next 3 or 4 years. And we locked in a new purchase price in the future. Despite, by the way, how the economy is just going crazy right now. I think right now it's probably going at like 7 or 8% right now. We locked it in at about 4 to 5% at the time.
Appreciation.
So 4 to 5% appreciation per year. So for the next 3 to 4 years. And so when actually we exited out of that house, I think it was last year of September when we exited. And so they were like, the tenants were like just laughing, because the houses were so much more expensive and they got it locked in at this price. Yeah. We're okay, because we're looking at, okay, this is a business for us, and we have a happy client right there. We still made our money that we were intending. Everything was agreed on, and we honored the price, and everything worked out really well. Right. So
do you remember what you rented it for?
The rent was a little bit higher. There was a bit more premium rent on that, but I knew they could afford it. And there was also an option consideration as well, which is an additional amount that we were putting aside for them every month. So that was part of our cash flow as investors. And hence, I think the cash flow was around like $2,000 a month.
What was the total rent?
The total rent, I think it was like almost 4,000 almost. That was the total amount. Yeah. Don't know the exact numbers, but I'm just giving some ballpark numbers right now. But that's what I remember from. And
then based on the rent, how much do you factor in for the to go towards the down payment for the house?
That depends. Yes. Yeah. So that depends. For them, we were aiming for about I think it was more than about 15%, I believe it was. However, when they actually went to qualify for the home, they actually didn't need 15%. So they actually had a little bit more money saved up at the end of the day. And funny enough, they used all the money to buy furnitures at the end. So
They still have the
that's their
Cadillacs?
choice.
Do you even know? Do they still have the Cadillacs?
Probably, yeah.
Hopefully
Most
they're the same
likely.
ones. Hopefully they didn't like turn them over and buy new ones.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what happened on that first deal. So that was really an eye opener for me
Mhm.
because I didn't know something that like that would be possible. It was crazy. It was just really like, okay, I managed to make this happen, and I didn't even use my own money to do it. So different perspective of looking at it.
Well, good on you. You had to put the hustle together to put the deal together.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it would have not been possible if I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
mhm.
That was why I say like education was what brought me into the light of being able to make it possible.
Did you collect the lease option fee up front?
So I had a I so the way that the rent to own works, and just for the audience, the way that the I guess the cash flow or the money works on this deal, you do get three sources of income. So there's an active part, there's a passive part, and then there's an equity part at the end when you sell the home. So for them, they put a bit of a deposit up front. So that was roughly about $10,000 that they put up front, and then there was their monthly amount that is basically our cash flow, so the passive income from the cash flow.
Yeah, from
And
the
then when we
4,000
sold,
rent. Yeah.
yeah, and then when we sold the home back to the family, that was the additional amount that we made, which was the spread of how much the cost of the value of the home in the future.
Mhm.
So we made money off the back end as well. And so that's where our all three streams of income being received is.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if you did like 20% down, like you were earning 4 to 5% price appreciation per year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So times 5, you're making like 20% of your money just on appreciation, while you have cash flow, while you would collect the 10 grand up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's if everyone works out well, this is great.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's if you don't know how to do it and you're trying to put this all together, you could put yourself at risk, you could put your investors' money at risk, you could put
Yeah.
the family at risk. And I wouldn't recommend people who don't have professional training to try to structure any type of deal if they don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Like you gotta really take care of people's you know the money and the family that you're working with. Like these are real people, and these are live people that you're taking responsibility for.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not something that you joke around with, especially if someone's giving you their life savings, for example. It's a real thing that you got to handle.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So
can't agree with you more because you're dealing with the property, which is your asset. The tenant is almost like your asset because they're like your customer.
correct.
And of course, you have your investor who put the money
Yeah,
in. So everybody's got to be taken care of.
yeah. So
That's a great
that's
first
what I
deal,
say.
man.
Yeah, and I want to say that I did have a lot of support along the way. Like it wasn't just me doing it all, figuring it out by myself. Like aside from the education, I had my mentor there guiding me all the way through, because anytime signing documents and like the paperwork, I like trying to understand all these paperwork, I was quite lost, but I had a lot of help from my mentor, and also my partner was there as well. So my partner was quite a huge factor in
Uh-huh.
getting these figured out. And as I mentioned, I'm not good at math. So even crunching the numbers, I realized it's not even about understanding math. Like you could do everything on a spreadsheet if you want it to, and you just punch in and go. So for the listeners right now, if you're bad at math, don't think that investing is all about math. It plays a role, but it's not the key factor of financial success. It's just a
Right.
part of it. Makes it a little bit easier, but
And
yeah,
you had someone check your numbers.
yeah, exactly. So I had people checking my numbers. My mentor checked the numbers. My partners checked the number, and everything made sense. And we just went with it.
And then is this your primary business, putting deals together? And then I'm guessing you invested in some of these as well.
Yeah, so I think fast forward from there, when I first started, most of my deals were acquisition mode. So I was out there actively acquiring properties and putting deals together and finding and raising monies for my properties. And then fast forward to today, like 2022, there's a bit of a transition in my portfolio because a lot of my deals are starting to mature, and I'm able to pull out a lot of equity. And finally, once in my life, I actually have money to reinvest and be the passive investor. Um, but getting started, I think when I was starting, first and foremost, I had to be very active and start raising all of it and doing all the work by myself.
Mhm.
And then now I'm kind of transitioning over on the passive side, where now I have the active income And all this income that I'm utilizing now is going into a passive side, and I'm getting other people to invest with me, or me investing with other people instead,
Right.
and then making sure the deals that I'm investing make sense to me.
Right.
And so I say it's trust and verify. So in the last like 3.5 years, I wasn't just actively investing and creating deals and lease option. I was also still getting myself educated into more different strategies, learning how to do creative financing, learning how to do multi-units, and learn how to do short-term rentals, so I can open my horizons on different strategies. Even if I'm not the active investor, I can now basically be able to have money from somewhere and tie up a deal and treat the deal as if it was my own, because I'm looking at it like, oh, okay, the numbers make sense to me. I'm verifying the deal despite me trusting you or not. As long as I trust you and I verified the deal, I'm like, okay, let's make the deal happen. Makes sense. Right. So and still the money's not all of it coming from myself. Sometimes I may borrow money from a private investor. I become the bank, but now I become the joint venture on the deal. So it kind of goes, money just kind of flows through me now as the individual, the person of value or of worth of being able to put it together. And that's really the magic of it. It's quite awesome.
Do you have a preference for investment strategy now? Are you doing them all? Are you doing a little bit of multi, a bit of short-term rental, a bit of rent to own?
I still really enjoy lease option. I think lease option to me really is very fulfilling, seeing the families like succeed. But I did get more into creative financing, like private lending and whatnot.
So
And
you're lending your funds?
I'm lending a lot of money out too. And then of course backed on hard assets that I believe in. So if the deal makes sense to me, I'm willing to lend privately to you for the deal that you're working on, even though I'm not directly on the deal. And as well, I got private, sort of not private, a lot of multis that I'm working on as well out in New Brunswick. So there's a few deals there. Currently, I moved to Edmonton, as I mentioned, and we're working on.
Oh, you mentioned that before we were recording.
Yeah. So now, yeah, for the audience, I moved to Edmonton recently from Toronto. And while I'm here, I'm actually looking at a lease option deal in Calgary. So I'm in Edmonton, so it's 3-hour distance. That everything's done over Zoom, by the way. So I'm not driving to Calgary to do that.
So you love this work from home business.
Yeah, it's nice. It's quite relaxing. Let's just say it like that. And then we're looking at a home in Edmonton as well for short-term rental. So we're dabbling a little bit in the short-term rental in Edmonton as well, just to see how that goes. So it's nice. So I'm quite diversified in that aspect through different real estate strategies that I'm working on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Explain, why did you move from Edmonton to Toronto? It's very different.
Toronto to Edmonton.
Sorry, what I said. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so
you moved from Toronto to Edmonton. Why did you make the move? Because it's I think the last quarter, I think we're probably going to see it for a while. Something like 20,000 folks from all over Canada are moving to Alberta, and then
super exciting.
And then before we were recording, even though you were from the East Coast, it seemed, apparently I was reading in the paper that less people from the East Coast are moving to Alberta. It's like you know people, right? You know people that had done previously, made the trip. People from Maritimes migrated to Alberta to do work on the oil sands, for example.
Yeah,
that sort of stuff.
If you ever come to Edmonton, you'll see a lot of people who have moved from the Maritimes to the Edmonton area. They usually have their Newfoundland sticker or their Cape Breton sticker on their car. So, and you see it all the time in Edmonton. And it's really cool to meet other fellow Maritimers here. But at the time when I was growing up and living in Toronto, and when I was working, a lot of the friends that I had in the East Coast, I guess some of them didn't go to further education. Instead, they started working in blue collar working town, I guess. A lot of them not even moved to Alberta at the time. They basically traveled there to work and then traveled back home. And I believe their work schedule was about working 2 months and then going home for a week, and then working another 2 months and then going home for a week. That was kind of like a typical schedule. So a lot of people that I knew work in Fort McMurray on the oil rigs, and they were actually in the oil rigs themselves. But they made really good money. They were making like anywhere from $200,000 and upwards. I know some people from that are working on the oil rigs in the ocean from the Newfoundland side. I think they were making up like $300,000 and more.
Wow.
But then you got to wonder,
executive money.
Yeah, but you got to wonder, is it worth it? Because you're only coming home every 2 months for a week, and then you go back home, go back to your work, and then you come back for for like a week, and then you go back again. So the schedule, you got to really factor in, like, okay, what am I missing in my life if I'm spending all this time on the oil rig? And then you got to wonder how dangerous these positions are, because you never know what can happen in these positions. They're quite dangerous there, and heavy, and it's very laborious, right? But yeah, so to answer your question, a lot of the people I've seen in Edmonton, there's a lot of people that have moved to Edmonton. So a lot of my old high school or elementary friends currently live in Edmonton, but I haven't met up with them yet because I've been living here for the last 6 months now. And I just talked to a friend on Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in Edmonton too." And I'm like, "No, wait, we're in Edmonton." She's like, "Oh, I'm in the metal area." I don't even know where the metal area is yet. But she told me she's in Edmonton. So, once I settle down a little bit more, I think I might end up reconnecting and rekindling some of those relationships.
Right.
But I moved to Edmonton simply because it was kind of part of my plan in life. Because when I first started this journey back when I was 26, 27, by the way, when I was 27 was when I hit financial independence. I quit my job at that time, and that was when I fired my boss. So I did fire my boss before she fired me. So, but at the time we were talking about how we wanted to structure our life. What did we want to do for the next year, the year after? And this was obviously before COVID. We didn't know COVID was going to happen. So the plan was, back in 2019 into 2020, we were going to get married, and we wanted to get married in Santorini. So we were planning out our wedding. Me and my partner were planning out the wedding. And after we get married, we wanted to buy a house. And then after we buy the house, we were gonna start a family, so have a kid. That was the 3-year plan that we had on the agenda. And then, as you know, 2019 happened, and COVID happened. So we're like, well, the Santorini plan is not going to work anymore. However, we're still sticking to our plan. We're still working on portfolio, and instead of spending the money on a wedding, we just reinvested all the money to grow our portfolio. And so that's what we did.
And she was okay with this? She was okay that you blew the wedding budget on houses?
It was fine. Like, she's on the same path as me, and she understood exactly what we were doing. And what was it?
Wait, how did you get her on board? Not many people would be on board with blowing the wedding budget on buying investment properties.
Well, she was on board with me because she actually jumped into the education with me, and she was my only support. She was the only person that was there to believe in the thing that I wanted.
You have no idea how lucky you are.
And I hear this all the time from people, because it's hard to get your other significant other on this path, because you're like, it almost seems like you're crazy. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she was on board with me. She's literally my B&B partner, we call it, bed and business partner. So that's who she is.
Okay. All these people say ride and die. I think I like that one better.
we basically said, cancel the wedding. And with Asian weddings, the reason we chose Santorini was because we told our parents, generally with most Asian weddings, your family's inviting like everybody, and you don't even know who's at the wedding anymore. Like, it's all strangers.
Yeah, you're not getting married for yourself. You're getting married for your parents.
Exactly. We chose Santorini.
You don't invite your friends; they invite their friends.
Yeah, really, it is. That's exactly what it was, and that's why we chose Santorini, because we said, you guys can invite whoever you want. We'll pay for your plane ticket. We'll pay for your accommodation. But if you invite anybody, it's your responsibility. You pay for their ticket. You pay for everything else on their end.
Right. Or they pay for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But the wedding never happened, so we reinvested the money for real estate properties. And then as the year was progressing, we're like, okay, maybe COVID's not going to clear out anytime. So let's let's just put the wedding on a hold. We don't let's who cares about the wedding? And that was when my partner came up with the idea of eloping. So that was the first time hearing about eloping, where instead, if we're gonna get married, let's just travel the world and buy a tuxedo and a dress, and then we'll just take pictures at different parts of the world, and then that will be our wedding instead. So that was the second plan on the bucket list. However, COVID really didn't die down. Like COVID kept on going strong for the year after, and it's even to this day of 2022, it's still around. It's like lingering around. It's still around on the table. But we wanted to start a family, and as a woman, for the women listening in on the call, sometimes they're thinking about their biological clock. They're like, well, I'm not getting any younger. I gotta get this done. So we're like, well, let's start a family then. And so people were telling us like, it's gonna take you a year. You should start trying like as soon as possible because it's gonna take some time. And so we're like, okay, let's start trying. Let's start making this happen. And everybody told us it's not gonna happen overnight. You're gonna have to work at it. And everybody lied to me. Everybody lied to me. It happened overnight. So I was like, damn it. Like now we're like, okay, we have a baby on the way.
Yeah.
And so now we have to find a house ASAP.
Oh shit.
And so this was when all the prices were skyrocketing in Ontario. Like actually not even Ontario, right across the country, the prices were going up. And we made the decision to move to Alberta. And this was before everybody was going to Alberta. So we're like, you know what? Let's go to Alberta because cost of living is a little bit lower. And I could definitely make my money run a lot further. If I ever wanted to travel back to Toronto, I have a lot more money to allocate when I'm living there because cost of living was lower.
Right.
And so
tell us how much lower. Like, because were you renting in Toronto before?
I was renting in Toronto.
Okay.
However, I was living in I actually got really lucky on the rent that I was at. So I was in a 700 square feet apartment.
Big.
And this is young in St. Clair, so wasn't
nice location.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad location. And I was paying about $1,500 a month.
That's cheap. Yeah.
Very cheap. However, the fact though is if I was raising my baby in that place, it wouldn't make sense. So
people are doing it with worse, but yeah.
yeah. But people have been through worse, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had options on the table. This was already when I was doing financially well. And if I could choose, I would continue renting. That was what I would have done. We were actually planning to rent, and we were looking for a place to rent in Toronto. We were looking for more of a home, like maybe a townhouse or what's that called? Like a 2-story apartment that's like a loft, like a loft.
Okay.
A loft
or a stacked condo or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were looking for it, and we're like, if we rented somewhere like that, you're already looking at like $2,500 to $3,000, maybe more every month.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could buy a house, or maybe we can rent a place in Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at different places. We thought about Alberta. We thought about New Brunswick.
Mm-hmm.
We looked into Vancouver, and we're like, well, Vancouver's too expensive. New Brunswick doesn't have anything there. There's no food. There's no anything. There's no. It's like in the middle of nowhere. Saskatchewan's in the middle of nowhere. Manitoba was in the middle of nowhere.
Man, how many more people you want to offend? What did you end up choosing in Edmonton?
And so we looked at Alberta, and we're like, well, my partner's from Calgary, and she's like, well, I don't want to go to Calgary because my family's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Calgary's nice. I don't know really Edmonton, nice. So yeah.
Yeah, Calgary's really nice, and they have a little bit more of I guess amenities there and restaurants there.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's move to Calgary. And she's like, no, my family's there. I don't want to live close to my family.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so where's the other option? Well, there's Edmonton. And I'm like, well, Edmonton gets really cold. It's like last time we went there was like -40. I'm like, however, if it's -40 during winter, we can always go on vacation if we wanted to. Right? We have extra money to allocate. Let's use the money to go on vacation then. I'm like, that makes sense. And so we decided on Edmonton as the final location of where we wanted to stay. And so that's why we chose Edmonton as our, I guess, home base now. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Edmonton.
And what did you get in Edmonton? You got a house? You renting?
We ended up buying a house. We were gonna structure a rent to own for ourselves, but it didn't make sense. So we didn't end up structuring a rent to own for ourselves. then we thought about house hacking, and we were thinking, okay, maybe we can buy a duplex and we can do a short-term rental on one side and we'll live on the other side. And then we looked at it and it's like, oh, it's not worth the work and the hassle. So we're like, yeah, let's just, screw it. Let's just bite the bullet. Let's just buy a liability for ourselves and we'll just buy a home and we'll pay for it, but we can afford it. So let's just do that. And so we ended up just buying a house. So just screw it. Let's just buy a house.
So what did you buy? A 3-bedroom something?
Yeah, so 3-bedroom, and to give you context, I was in a 700 square feet apartment, right? This was a 1,700 square feet home, not including the basement. So the amount of free space I have now is not even comparable. So I'm like, okay, not even joking. This is like a huge upgrade in my life, and I have this beautiful home, and pretty much brand new, and I'm raising my kid in this house now. And then, as you know, I'm living from Toronto, moving to Edmonton. I have to buy a car because I can't get around.
Yeah.
So then I ended up buying a car too. So I was like, okay, I can afford to buy a car. Let's buy a car too then. So then we got a car.
Awesome.
Like
And
31 years old, and I bought a house, bought a car, started a family. It's kind of hard to believe for most millennials nowadays because things are so expensive nowadays.
Right. And I'm sure people will follow behind you as well. You'll see more people in Alberta in your age group.
Yeah. They've been expanding the so in Edmonton, where I live anyways, the city is in the center of a giant road around the ring. We call it the ring around Edmonton, and the ring has been expanding on their lanes. So they've been opening up new lanes to accommodate the new population boom. So which is awesome, because if Edmonton is growing, I'm there growing with it, which is awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You're happy?
Pretty happy. Can't
That's
complain.
awesome.
Can't complain at all.
Happy for you. Awesome. And so Vince, like you see a lot, of deals, like especially because you're in a pretty active community of like Tim and Ray seem extremely legit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of your friends, they seem extremely legit in terms of investing. Seems like, I'm guessing you guys invest in each other's deals, so you see a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's the benefit. I mean, that's the benefit of being a part of a community who's active, who's been educated, who have the right mindset, and who's thinking of growing and succeeding as well. Because really, there's no win and lose. It's more like win-win. Like, how can I help you to help me help you? Because now we can work together to grow and to share not even just our wealth, but sharing our resources, sharing our knowledge, because I'm not going to know everything, but I'm sure I can find somebody that knows what I need to look for if I needed it. I'm not going to have all the money in the world, but I know there's people that I'm working with that have extra money sitting around that's willing to invest.
Right.
But that's the
you all
other
know what a
thing
deal
too.
looks like. You know what a deal looks like.
Yeah. And even if you were, for example, like, let's say you're in Ontario, just because you're in Ontario, you're not going to know everything about Ontario. And if you are looking to invest into other places like different provinces, or if you're planning to go to the States, if you know people who are actively engaged there and actively investing there, that knows that market better than you,
right,
you have somebody that's ready to go.
Right.
And you could be the same person in Ontario who knows the Ontario market. So if I needed something, like, I'll reach out to you.
Right. And you share values. And you're of course, I'm guessing you're all protective of your reputation within the community as well. For
sure. I think your reputation, my mentor always says, you are only as great as your last deal. That's honestly the truth, right? And it's not about the money. It's about the relationships that you built and the reputation that you've created. And if anything, it's always thinking about how you provide value over profit, because the profit's just the byproduct of what you're going to get. What kind of value are you actually providing to the people that you're working with? Because that's where the real thing is.
Amazing. Now, what's your current deal that you're working
on? So the current deal, I have a few multis in New Brunswick. And then I got the short-term rental that we're looking for right now, and then the lease option deal that we're working in Calgary. That's probably the bulk of it. And then I made, I think, 2 private loans just in the last 4 months. And so I got those that I just leveraged out recently. So that's pretty much everything that's on my plate right now in terms of my own personal business.
Right. So you have your hands on a bunch of things. How many hours a week are you working?
Funny enough, it's not as crazy as people think of it. Even going back to a lease option deal, you're probably spending total. It does take like maybe 3 months to put everything together, but in total hours spent, you're probably spending about 10 to 15 hours in total putting everything together. It's just making a few phone calls here, talking to a few power teams over here, and just putting some of the numbers together here, and all cumulative. Like on a lease option deal, you're probably looking at 10 to 15 hours in total. Something with multis, it may take a little bit longer because there's ongoing moving pieces that are consistently moving and progressing. So
yes,
that
there's
may take
often renovations that are always going on.
Yeah, exactly. So that probably takes a little bit more time. It takes time to stabilize the portfolio in terms of multis, but it's not as what people think of it. It's not like you're like pulling out your hair unless you're going through some really big problems in your portfolio. But in terms of hours, I mean, you're really just allocating time where needed. And remember, we're not looking to do this to buy ourselves a new job. We're doing this to buy ourselves more time. And so how you decide on allocating your time, and even if anything is creating a system around the processes that you're doing it, so that way it becomes more streamlined. Just like the lease option deal, my first deal probably took more than 10 hours to put together because I actually had to drive there, meet the client, meet the realtor, look at the property. That probably took a lot more time. But now it's like, okay, Zoom call, 1 hour call, Zoom call with my mortgage broker, 1 hour call, and then talk to my realtor, another hour call. So it's like, it's not as time consuming as you think it is.
Awesome. So actually, could you tell us about your Calgary rent to own? I'd love to have something to compare against Ingersoll.
So this property that we're still in the process of putting together, this one is a $400,000 property that we're aiming for.
Oh, so inflation didn't happen. That was just the same price.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So we're still in the process of getting the deal structure. So we do have a family, and she's from India. The reason why she's looking to get into rent to own is that they are currently living with their parents, and I guess they're trying to be independent and live on their own. They have a family, like a kid on the way, I think. And basically they're looking for a way to actually buy their own home, but they're not in the position because they don't have the down payment saved up. And credit score is perfect. No problem with credit score at all. So their main reason is that they don't have the down payment. That's the main thing that they're lacking. Now, basically, the husband is the one who is looking to qualify for the home on his own because he's the breadwinner in the family. He makes the most money. However, we're planning to factor her income as well. So if her income comes into the picture, we're looking at maximum, I think, like $430,000 as a home purchase price. So actually, sorry, home purchase price would be less than that because that's the appreciated value. That's what we're selling the home back to them at $450, $450 max. $430 is what we're aiming for. $450 is the maximum that they would be able to qualify for at the end of the program. So the house that we're looking at would be, what's the value of it today? Probably, I think we're looking at like $375 or something around that price point. And then the appreciated value after the 3 years would be about $450 max. Hopefully that makes sense for the audience. Yeah?
Are you taking any money up front?
We are. So we're looking at $10,000 up front.
Okay.
And the cash flow, we're not sure yet because we don't know what the price of the home is going to be yet. But we're still working out the number.
Like, I'm guessing you have some sort of benchmark for rent though.
The rent, we're probably looking around. So if it's if it's around 375, we're probably looking around $1,800 to $2,000 just as rent on its own, just rent, not including the option, not including anything else. It's just the rent on its own.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then once you know what the house is going to be, then you'll factor in the portion that goes towards the down payment.
Exactly. Well, we got to factor in our cost of carrying the mortgage as well, because we'll be carrying the mortgage. The interest rate may be a little bit higher for us as well because of obviously what's happening with the economy. So depending on what the interest rate that we're getting it at, then we can really figure out what the rent should be sitting around for them as the renters of the property. So the numbers aren't set yet. We're still working in the process with our mortgage broker. Right now, once we get the numbers finalized, the next step is getting them into talking with the real estate agent.
Amazing.
So yeah, so nothing's set yet. Everything's still up in the air, but I think things are really progressing slowly through the process.
Sorry, just 1 second. You have kids, you get it. Someone's gotta go pick them up.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
And what do you see going forward? Like, no, these are pretty rocky times. We're recording this late November, 2022.
This is a good question because nobody knows what the future holds.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've already thought about it though. Are you adjusting
I
your
thought
business
about
at
it.
all?
Yeah. So of course I'm always adjusting and pivoting and just changing with the times. Despite the fact that interest rates are going up, I mean, property value's gone down like crazy, which is perfect time for anybody. If you actually calculate the numbers, it just makes sense despite the interest rates are up. But you got to think about it like, okay, I thought about like, okay, if interest rates are going up, prices of properties are going down. Do you think maybe that there may be foreclosures coming up? Maybe during the recession, as things get a little bit harder, it may be a good opportunity for investors who are educated to take hold of opportunities that are presenting themselves. And I always say, as an investor, we're there to solve problems. And when a recession does happen, and if and when it does happen, I don't know if we're living in one right now or if it's just going to get worse from here. When that recession happens, as a problem solver, there's going to be a lot of opportunities that are presenting itself. And if you are not prepared for these opportunities, then you're missing it. You're missing the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And one day down the road, people are going to say, well, Vince, you got lucky. You were there at the right time, at the right moment, and you took advantage of the recession. I'm like, no, yeah, definitely. I was there at the right time, but you were there too.
Yeah.
What were you doing at the time when I was doing it? And the biggest difference would be the fact that I was prepared. I got myself educated. I got the skills. I got the knowledge. I got the right people around me. I have all my ducks in order. So when I need anything, I can always reach out to somebody to prepare myself for when those opportunities present themselves, because it's fair game. Anybody and everybody has those opportunities, equal opportunities. But it's really, do you see the opportunity? And if you
Mm-hmm.
do you know how to act on it?
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, you missed it. That's the sad reality of it. And I don't want to, punch anybody in the guts, but that's just the truth of it. So
show is the truth about real estate investing. Vince, I actually think that's a great way to end the interview. Where can folks follow up with you if they want to follow along your journey?
Yeah, so you can always follow me on Instagram. It's the Only Vince Lee. You can also find me on Facebook. It's the Only Vince. And also take a look at Trust Your Talent. It's Trust.
Sorry, for listeners' benefit, literally, it's the Only Vince, because
the Only Vince.
Because if you go to LinkedIn and type Vince Lee,
there's too many.
Too many. So specifically, it is type in the Only Vince Lee.
Yeah, Erwin, it's the Only Vince Lee. I'm the only one.
Literally, as in type that.
Yeah. You can also find me at Trust Your Talent on Instagram. We're really active on that as well. So it's Trust and then UR and then Talent. So you can find me as well there, and a lot of stories and students to connect with as well. But you can find me on Facebook as well. I'm very active on Facebook. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always open to a conversation. No matter where you are in your journey in your life, sometimes it just takes that one conversation to really change the perspective of what you believe and what you see the world in. I think it's not just about how to do something, but also who you know about doing something, because once you meet that person, they may give you a different perspective, and you're like, huh, I never thought of it that way, and that might set you on the right path of what you need to do.
Right.
So,
So speaking of right paths, have you staved off the bad dad bod?
I still have a dad bod. I still have a dad bod.
Whatever, buddy.
The good side.
You gotta be the most jacked guy in your group.
Remember, no different than financials. Health and fitness is no different than financial. You don't have to be, you don't have to be like an accountant or a lawyer to be, well versed in it. You just need to understand finances, and you need to understand how money works to be able to create financial success. Same with the dad bod. If you want to learn how to be healthy, you got to learn it. You don't have to be a fitness trainer or a kinesiologist. You just need to know how it works. And nowadays, I look at labels before I buy any food. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, okay, before I buy it, because it's innate in me. It's part of my lifestyle. So when I buy properties, I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm looking at the labels and, okay, does this make sense to me before I buy it? It's the same idea.
Amazing.
So,
yeah. FYI, folks, if you ever run into Vince and he's jacked, it's because he's jacked. All right. So, because you can't tell over Zoom that he's jacked, but he's jacked. All right. All right, Vince, thanks so much for doing this. Congrats on your success, man. Happy to hear it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, I can't. Let me know next time you're in town. I gotta make it to one of Tim's events, Tim and Ray's events.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Erwin, for all your support, and happy having me on the podcast as well.
Oh, you can thank Tim for that.
Thank you. Okay, take care. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.